Good evening. Welcome to the Sunday PowHer Chat. Sending so much love out into the ether to each and every one of you. My name is Takiyah Geddes, and I'm here repping the duo that is normally the I Am PowHer Chatters on this live show at 6:30 p.m. on Sunday evenings. Every Sunday, we come and we talk about real issues and concepts and spiritual lessons and ways of navigating this dimension of existence that we're operating in a conscious way. And so, sometimes we find ourselves in between having to make a decision from our knowing and from obligation, right? And so some people really question whether or not there is a choice there to be made still from your intuition or from your heart space rather than from a commitment, right? So there was a dialogue I had with someone, a group of people around, making decisions from how we feel versus, making a decision based on a commitment we've made previously. And that's what I want to talk about today. So normally Nancy Lewis Hill is here with me, and we have this back and forth dialogue. And so I'll have that with you in my mind. And also, normally, we like to come here and really engage with people in a meaningful way. So if you have questions or, comments, even if you're on the replay, please come back, drop comments below, and we'll definitely respond to you, because we want this to be a dialogue. I want to know as much to tell you as much as to receive from you, what it is that you do to navigate these situations, and see where we align and see where perhaps we could all begin to expand. This is all in support of us really becoming truly aligned with our authentic selves and living a life that feels free and where we can access fully our joy and our wholeness. And that really is, the experience that we seek ultimately. And in between and along the way, there are many other types of feelings and emotions and situations and embodiments that we seek to kind of understand more deeply and to see ourselves reflected in. And so we take chances and we do things in the world that may or may not be in agreement with other people's values or other people's ideas of who or what we should be. There was actually a topic that came up this week, even more, I would say, intensely in the media than it usually is, around identification based on gender. And I would like to have a more in-depth conversation about that at some point, because I think it's a really important one. And ultimately, all of these conversations really come down to our relationship with ourselves. And so let's get started. Let's jump into the topic, which is really about, what it is to make a commitment, and then what it is to live, in the moment and from flow and your intuition. And I think this comes down to whether or not, when you made the commitment to someone, let's say you made the commitment to be somewhere at a certain time, to be in a certain place in a physical way, for you to show up, to do or be or have, some participation in something with someone. And then maybe that commitment was made, let's say, a month ahead of time. And then it comes down to a week out and you are starting to feel differently about completing the obligation. Maybe, and there are a myriad of reasons why. Perhaps there is something that got scheduled that wasn't scheduled previously that would be of benefit to you and or others for you to do instead of the commitment. Perhaps it's that you found out something about the person to whom you made the commitment that shifted your loyalty or your desire to fulfill the commitment. Perhaps it was, so perhaps it was, can you see where I'm headed here? Like, there's so many possibilities. So is it that what do you think? Do you think you should take it case by case basis, or do you think there's an absolute? I'm wondering how you feel about that. Just ponder that for a minute. So I'll say from my perspective, I think that a commitment begins before you actually say the words to someone. So honoring my word and having my word be bonded and bond me to a specific time and place and or person, it's so multifaceted and layered that when I speak a word and I say something, I have a thought, I have a word, and I have a deed. Those three things I always want, and I aim for them to be in alignment, because that is part of my Trinity, right? That is part of my actionable creative process in the world, is to have a thought, to have word, to have action behind it. And so I'm really intentional about my commitments. And I think that is where the trouble lies for many people, is that there isn't a time or a space before actually verbally saying what you're going to do, that you take a step back, go inside, and really evaluate whether or not this is something you want to spend time or energy doing or being with someone. And sometimes it doesn't need to be a long contemplative kind of situation. Sometimes it's just an immediate knowing. And if you're paying attention to yourself, you know whether something resonates with you as true and for you or not. And if you aren't in that sensitive or in tune, then that time, that breath, that pause is necessary, so that you're not reacting from conditioning, like a sense of obligation or a sense of, paying back someone or feeling like there's some other entity outside of yourself that is driving your decision. So I would say that, because it's, in order to, you'd have to really look at each individual situation and determine what went awry when there wasn't a follow through thought to word to deed, right? Because there are just so many possibilities. I'll give you a real life example of a time that perhaps if you're an absolutist, and you've said, no matter what, if you say you're going to do it, then you do it. Consider this. I know an artist who committed to going to an event. And then that was about 3 months out. And then about a month out from the event, the facilitators of the event actually aligned financially and, supportively backing an issue that was exclusive. So it excluded certain demographics of people from attending the event. So then that artist had to make a decision, because attending the event would mean that her values were in alignment with the event facilitators, and that she agreed with the event that certain segments of the population shouldn't be allowed to attend the event. So it's a moral kind of value-based decision. And so as an absolutist, would you still go to the event? And I would say, there's always going to be situations where, no one else can tell you what to do. I'm not even going to try to come up with an answer in this moment, because the truth is, we only know what we would do if we're in the situation. We can speak and hypothesize and say all the right things, right, in alignment with what we think people want us to say, or what we think people want to hear, or we think that we would do. But the truth is, until you're actually in the situation, you don't know for sure what you would do. And it's because experience is how we know truth, right? Before experience happens, everything's simply a concept. Can't conceptualize life. You have to experience it. And so, as much as I feel internally in alignment with my integrity, and I aim and intend to be in alignment with it, and my previous decisions have led me to stay in congruence with that, meaning that when I say something, I do it, I follow through, and I'm pretty good at really aligning myself with my intention prior to speaking and making a commitment, and I do it from a place of knowing and of deep feeling in my heart that that's true and it's for me to do, and that I desire to be a part of whatever I'm committing to. And I also give myself the grace and the space to change my mind at any time, because that is the nature of freedom. And beyond all else, I think freedom is necessary for us to continue to evolve. If we start creating constructs and living in an absolute kind of framework, and we only speak of dyads, ups, downs, rights, wrongs, good, bad, then we negate the essence of us and the biggest truth of our spiritual nature. And so I'm a big fan of triunes, right? The word Trinity, has many potential forms it can take in our lives. And one of them is word, thought, and deed, right? You think it, you say it, you do it. And that's an easy enough one for people to conceive of and to identify with. And then there's mind, body, spirit, right? And then the heart space, right? And so the heart space, I believe, is a culmination of that, right? And then, we're so much more, right? So the body, there's so many more interconnections between those three aspects or four aspects of self, because then we have our enteric nervous system, our gut, where we get information, where we can feel things in our body to help us identify the truth of our hearts and help us really connect with that, our spiritual truth. And so layers. So I'm going to wrap here, and I'm just going to say that sometimes, having conversations and allowing them to be open-ended and not have certainty as the end is okay. Just as not knowing the answer in the moment is okay. Your soul knows everything. So I know this to be true. And so sometimes our humanity is not able to connect to that truth. And so in the moment, we don't have an understanding or remembrance of the truth. And it's okay. It's okay. I think it's important for us to remember that we are free will creators, that we are creators. And as a creator, it's not simply that we're discovering life as it unfolds, but we are creating it. And so there's an acceptance of our power in that way that can be scary for people. It's much easier to stay in kind of a victimhood or a place of non responsibility. And so there is bliss in being in alignment and embracing the totality of ourselves, and that includes our vastness. as well as our humanity, which is not a bad thing. It's the thing that allows us to have the experiences that we're having. So there is sometimes when we talk about spirituality, our humanity gets kind of a bad rap, as if it's should be negated somehow, and as does ego a lot of times in conversations. And both of those things are so valuable. With ego, that could be a whole nother video, but we need ego in order. It's our personality, right? It's our consistency for people to remember who we are, so that we can maintain relationships, and more. There are many, many other valuable assets that ego carries, and our humanity. Without it, we don't get to experience form. We don't get to touch physicality, right? And then there's the lack of reflectiveness that we would miss. It's the ability to see ourselves doing things and being things in our own bodies, and seeing ourselves reflected in others, that would be missed, right? If we were just wholly these energetic, allness of the allness, right? We need form in order to have experience in this way. So I hope that you found some interesting points in this self-conversation. I look forward to reading the comments below. Please chime in if there are specific topics you would like Nancy and I to cover in future videos. Please definitely pop them in the comments. I'd love to hear your feedback and what your thoughts are on these subjects. What are you throwing up in the collective consciousness that we could pull down and share with everyone to help move us more and more toward our awakening to our awakening, and uplifting and raising the vibration. This is what we seek, right? So I'll conclude with this. For those of you who don't know who I am a kinetic and fitness specialist and an activation coach, and I'm the creator of the Kinetic Life Revolution. And with this revolution, we facilitate the alchemy of personal freedom, and this is through the release of disserving weight, whether it's on any of our bodies, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, so that we can become more and more in alignment with our authentic selves, and walk in abiding self-love and confidence, and really emerge in soulful power in this life. This to me is the work. It's the personal revolutions, and that are pushing the evolution of our species forward, and will ultimately contribute to the most change in our society as it reflects what we're creating. So I'll leave you with this. You are far more than enough. You are necessary to the unfoldment of the cosmos, and you are deserving of every good thing. All love is all love. And I look forward to speaking with you soon and seeing you next week, same bat time and channel, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace and blessings.